Recording from the Sunshine City, St. Petersburg, Florida, overlooking beautiful Tampa Bay, this is the Sonography Lounge, sponsored by Gulfcoast Ultrasound Institute. This podcast is dedicated to medical professionals and patients around the world interested in diagnostic and interventional ultrasound. Our podcast will discuss everything ultrasound, from news, trends, career paths, new technology, and industry updates. Hosted by Lori Green and Tricia Rio of Gulfcoast Ultrasound Institute, they bring over 4 decades of experience in the ultrasound profession and are here to guide you through this journey. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today in the Sonography Lounge. I'm Tricia Rio, and I'm here with my co-host, Lori Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Today's episode is one a lot of you have been asking for. It's how do you actually break into the corporate world of ultrasound? We're talking industry roles, career transitions, what companies are really looking for, and what it takes to go from performing diagnostic ultrasound to influencing the future of ultrasound on a whole new level.
That's right. And today we're bringing you not just one perspective, but 6 perspectives. So if you've ever wondered what it's like to work in an environment beyond the clinical setting, or what it takes to move up the career ladder, then this is the episode for you.
Yes, and we're so excited. We are being joined from our amazing team at Samsung Healthcare America. Let's go ahead and start by introducing our panel. First up, we have Mel Bunk. Mel is the head of product and education at Samsung. Mel has over 30 years of experience in medical imaging and with a vast array of positions. She brings a frontline perspective on what a leap into the corporate world really looks like. Next, we have Tanya Rattay. She's our clinical education manager for radiology, point of care, and veterinarian. Tanya has been in the ultrasound field for 21 years with experience focused on the education side. She has a unique view on how clinical expertise translates directly into industry impact. We're also joined by Shannon Redman. She is our women's health education manager at Samsung, and she has over 30 years of experience in ultrasound and can offer some insight into how our sonographers can influence innovation behind the scenes.
And next we have Bridget Lunsford. She's the head of clinical applications for ultrasound, digital radiography, and mobile CT, and she can provide great insight on what companies are actually looking for when hiring sonographers into corporate positions. And also joining us is Leanne Gilliland. She is a senior product manager for premium radiology ultrasound market, and she brings 18 years of experience in both clinical and corporate environments. She brings a great perspective on what skills really help you transition into the corporate world, as well as what skills you need to learn and develop. And finally, we have Dave Fortney, who's a commercial business leader of general imaging ultrasound with over 30 years of ultrasound experience, the majority of which has been in the corporate environment. He will give us the inside scoop on what separates candidates who get in and from those who don't. So welcome, everyone. We're happy to have you all here.
All right, so biggest panel I think we've ever had on the Sonography Lounge. We're super excited you guys came in today to join us, but I know our listeners are chomping at the bit to hear what you guys have to say about career transitioning into corporate ultrasound. So let's just kick things off with our first question. What are the various career pathways in the corporate ultrasound community?
Yeah, I can take that first. I know Tanya and I talk about this a lot. It's one of those things. I was like, there's so many different routes for us from general clinical applications. And so we're always looking for these kind of technically savvy people, sonographers that are looking into the next realm and beyond the exam that they do. So we have clinical applications and a lot of users, and they get really good at the system. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'd like to teach somebody else how to do this. And we're like, you know what? You've grasped the technology easily. I think you'd be really good at it. And so clinical applications is a really good place to get in, and based off of how you use your system today. And a lot of our team that you're meeting today is in product and education. And from our side, as you get better at learning into the next level of all of your system, a little more physics, technology, things like that. Product is a really nice product development and getting kind of inquisitive on how things work, and even some ideas and what's next in ultrasound. And so, general applications help training customers and even your own colleagues, and then education pieces. But Tanya, I can let you take that piece. You've done a lot of the education realm as well.
Yeah, I think that for most of those out in the field, the front lines are clinical applications and our sales community. So those are the folks that you're going to see. They're coming into your facility. They're helping you get acquainted with new equipment, maybe a demo, an install. Those are the ones you may see the most. But behind the scenes, there's many more different layers and different ways that you can take your career. So we can go into marketing, ultrasound marketing, use some of that creativity, create beautiful deliverables that are going to be used and presented to customers. Or we can get into something like the education side of things, which is what I do in the field. And that would be more of training our internal teams with new product releases, different version ups or software versions as they're coming to market. So I get to work really well and side by side with our product team, which gives me a glimpse into what our product development and the research and development side is looking like, which is really fun and unique. So on Mel's side, she gets to do a lot more of that product stuff and the development phase. So I'll turn it back to you, Mel.
Yeah, what I think is the fun part of it is that as much as we'll share with you guys today is we're all working together, right? We get to work with our customers. And so really spending time in the customer kind of resources in different markets. So it's important that we're good at listening, right? I would say if you're really good at playing with your machine and trying to figure things out, you're probably a good person to try clinical applications. We're looking for people that are more, again, into that technical next step. And so being able to have a really good personality to walk in a different variety of offices, but clinical applications starting point to take your ultrasound skills to the next step. And then once you get comfortable there, for our product team, really taking the development phase of what works well, what is the customer like, and really saying, hey, how can I help develop that ultrasound system to be better, and what's in the future for us. So that's a really good career path that I would say it's never ending. It's pretty diverse. And there's jobs everywhere in different types of, whether it's an ultrasound company, sometimes it's a development of a feature with an AI company. And so there's a lot of different routes that our sonographers can take.
I really like how you broke it down there from the front line to the behind the scenes, because I think when you hear corporate position, as a sonographer, you go right to applications and sales. But there you just outlined a whole variety of career tracks that I don't think the average sonographer considers. So really good. I love how you shared that information.
What I think the biggest misconception from our side is when we come in is everyone immediately thinks that we're a little bit of a know-it-all, right? Where everybody just kind of gets a little bit like, oh, I don't want to say anything. They know everything about the machine. And at the end of the day, I would say we're one of them. We're sonographers. Right. And we like to watch how people use different techniques, use the technology. And if it's something that interests, clinical people elsewhere, I would say it's one of those steps to start digging into how could I get into part of this and learn more about it.
Absolutely. And technology is constantly changing. So it's a great career to be involved with changes in technology, keeping up to date on new evolvements into the industry. So if you like to learn, I think that's definitely a role for you. So I think one of the things that would be helpful is that each of you has a little bit different role, and maybe each of you give a little discussion about your role and what's involved, and what's it look like day to day? What's a normal day look for, if there is a normal day?
Never.
I can go first if anyone think I'm the first to call mute.
Yeah.
So senior product manager. And one of the things just to add into that we haven't even hit on yet, one of my previous roles was project management. And that's a whole nother avenue that I'm sure nobody thinks about. It's not anything I thought about. And so there's degrees in project management, but as a sonographer, you kind of build into that and you do a lot of just managing multiple things at once anyway. So that's another role that our people may have, sonographers may never think about, but if you get ready to transition, a lot of clinical people might go from apps into project management, which is a whole nother field. So my background now is product management. I've done a few. So now I love product management. It is as kind of we are the ones that when you tell me, you know what, I love this system, but it would be really great if it did this, or if the button was here, or if, the measurement came up on the right instead of the left. And some of those things we do already. And we might be like, oh, yeah, our system does that. Or some of the things we don't do. You may have seen it on a competitive system. You may have had this harebrained idea on your own, but it's a really good one. So as a product manager, your job is to listen to the customer and to make sure those things get done in our previous releases. We also work on future AI and all of those things as well. But a lot of our job is listening and then seeing how we can implement it. So my day-to-day is working with the sales team, the apps team, Tanya on the education team, Bridget, who might be managing a million things, our apps leaders, listening to them, seeing what they need in the field, seeing what our customers are saying, going into the field myself and working with key opinion leaders and sonographers and seeing how the system works. Is it working well? Do people fumble with one thing that we need to change? So you never think about why a button was where it was placed. And we are the people that choose where the button was placed if engineer listens to us. So that's really the day-to-day is picking all of those little things for a system and then trying to make that system function as efficiently as possible for the sonographer.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And you work closely with engineering in that as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talk to engineers daily, weekly, like we're constantly in contact with the engineering team. For Samsung, a lot of our engineers live in Korea, but we have one here as well that we work with. So our engineering team is amazing, but that if you think an engineer develops it, but they don't know how a sonographer works necessarily, they don't understand workflow. And so they really rely heavily on us, this whole team sitting on this panel today, of what do you need for us to sell it? That's the end game, is that we, have an amazing product that people want to use, so it sells. So they really rely heavily, we in tandem with engineering to make sure our needs are met and the needs of the market are met.
Perfect. And we've had a few engineers attend courses at Gulfcoast Ultrasound Institute so they could better understand workflow. So that's awesome. All right, who's next up?
I'll go ahead. So I am in the education space, specifically on the general imaging, the veterinarian point of care side of the business. Shannon, also joining me on the call, is also in the education role on the other side on the women's health team. So we both bring an interesting perspective because we hold the same role, but for different teams. So for me, I love education. It's my wheelhouse. I've been in it throughout several different capacities, from teaching in an ultrasound school for new students, new sonographers coming into their roles, and then now moving into the corporate side of education. And for me, I feel like a lifetime learner. I feel like we all are. So we all need continuing education, including once we transition to the corporate side of ultrasound. So for us, that looks like internal education. So if you were to get hired on as a clinical application specialist, you are paired with one of the education managers, and we would help you through your new hire training, where you're getting oriented not only to your role, but to all of the ultrasound equipment. So that involves learning the back pages, learning how to configure a system to meet the challenges or the unique circumstances of individual accounts. So we can tailor our systems to meet the needs of those accounts. And part of that starts with learning how to do it yourself, right? So we're starting with our internal education and making sure that all of our internal teams are comfortable and ready to go out there in the field to then transition and transfer that knowledge to, our customers and make sure that they're able to use our systems at the highest capacity. So we also create content for both our internal teams and for our customers. So that might be a quick card on how to get through using a specific feature, or it may be, internally teaching somebody about a brand new product. And then we also deal with more customer education. So, Shannon, I don't want to steal all of the thunder. I'll transition over to you so you can talk about more of the customer education side.
Thanks. And just a little tidbit, Tony and I actually got to teach at the same college. So we were at the same ultrasound school. We got to teach together, and that's where we met before we came to, we went to Siemens first, and then we came to Samsung. So very happy to be doing education with her. I get to do the women's health side. So I get to see all the cute, adorable babies and then help women with creating content and doing customer courses and internal training for any kind of women's health that's out there. So that could include anything from GYN exams or when they're pregnant, and creating and content that helps to show off our beautiful babies like they're on the screen behind me. One of the things I think that's really important to realize is that we travel a lot. So you were asking about the day-to-day. Either we're in our office, we're creating content, we're doing things like this, a podcast, or we're traveling to our headquarters in Danvers or to customer courses. And our customer courses basically is we've created CME accredited courses that we offer to our customers. And then we're able to help train them on the system as well. And that usually is after they've had their applications training. So lots of educational opportunities for our customers to learn and to get really efficient and really good on our systems. We want to make sure we support our customers in that way by creating great educational content for them. And I can pass it on to somebody else.
Thank you so much for that. We love education, so woo, go education.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Who's
next?
next?
I can go next. I'm Bridget Lunsford. I am head of the clinical applications team here, and that is all the teams, as some of them mentioned, some of the other people have mentioned, that we have a radiology applications team, a point of care applications team, also veterinary ultrasound, and women's health. So a number of different teams in ultrasound. And then I am also over the digital radiography team and our mobile CT team. So lots of different applications teams. Like you said, the day-to-day is different every day, which is kind of what makes it exciting. Making sure that all of our teams have everything they need to do their jobs and to support our customers out in the field. So that can be recruiting or hiring or being out with the teams training, attending their trainings, working with them with customers, just really doing everything to kind of support our clinical teams. And a little bit about just how I got to this role. I started out in applications. I think, a lot of people do. Like they said, I started out in the clinical applications role about 20 years ago and just sort of moved on from there. I was in some education roles, in leadership roles. I managed a clinical applications team at a different company. And I took a little bit of a deviation. Leanne said there's, so many roles you don't think about necessarily. I spent 4 years in clinical applications operations, so really managing operations for a wide range of applications teams for imaging and nursing and ultrasound. So just so many different types of roles once you get in the corporate space that I think when you're in the field scanning, you don't necessarily think of all the other opportunities that are out there. But once you get into a company, just being open to looking at all of the different roles and kind of trying out things and see what fits. I definitely, in that role, missed the clinical portion a little bit. And that's why I came back into this role as managing the applications teams here, is because, I did miss that clinical perspective and being in the field with the customers and in that aspect. So day to day, everything is different. Like they said, it's either working in the office or at headquarters in Danvers or somewhere else training with our teams or out in the field with our customers. It's always something different.
Sounds like a fun time. And thank you for that. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go next. Dave Fortney, I'm the commercial business leader for general imaging ultrasound for the East at Samsung. And really what that is that's a lot of words and a big fancy title for a sales manager. Like the others on the call, I'm clinical sonographer. I started out in applications, and then over the years, to the first question about opportunities and different roles available to us, apps, marketing, education, sales, and now sales leadership. So a day-to-day in my world is not ever the same. I work with a team of sales reps, and I work with two large dealers that are on our team as well. And essentially, my role is I oversee the day-to-day operations of this process. So it goes from helping one sales specialist do prospecting and finding leads and turning leads into opportunity, to customer introduction and then demonstration and then negotiation and then product closure or deal closure and then on to the next one. And I'm going to talk to 4 different reps, and each has 5 or 6 deals they're driving that are in different stages. So it's always something new when it comes to working and managing that process. There's a lot of mentoring and coaching involved. I travel like a madman. I think we all do, but I'm much more time in airports than in my home office. And I think the last piece of it would be a lot of face-to-face customer interaction. If not just teaching or pitching product or closing a deal, but often I'm the solution guy. And if there's a problem that we have to fix, I come in and I help fix it. So that's a big part of my role as well, is to work with the good stuff, and sometimes I have to handle the bad stuff at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think that was everyone. Yep.
I think I'm last, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. I knew I was missing one. I'm like, somebody didn't go.
Okay. I appreciate it. I'm giggling to myself because this is classic. Like, no matter how you prepare, a lot of us work in clinic and home. And I'm laughing because my neighbor just decided to mow the lawn. And so I thought, hey, why not now after we've prepped getting ready for this whole thing?
Of course.
So I'm Bunk. I'm the head of our product and education for Samsung here in the US, as we mentioned. And for me, the path is endless. We do a lot of mentoring at colleges and schools, and it's probably our favorite part. Like, honestly, I always say I am an old X-ray tech from Indiana, and I look up often and think to myself, how am I here? How are we training certain doctors in certain places? And it's about something Tanya mentioned, about being a lifelong learner and being interested in imaging. Whether it's ultrasound, Bridget and I also work with our X-ray and CT teams. I haven't actually shot an X-ray in a very long time, but I keep my license. The technology is interesting, and we try to bring those practices together. And so in my job, I get to work with all these lovely people in different modalities. I lead that team, and for me, it's about trying to keep up with the solutions. How do we make sure that Tanya and Shannon are training in the most modern ways, in the way our customers are asking for it, right? And then working with Leanne and I partner a lot on the product stuff. And what do we take to engineering? What are the customers saying? For me, the biggest thing is finding solutions for the problems that our customers bring us as soon as possible. And if not, how can we get a workaround today? And then develop the next feature with engineering. And so I kind of oversee those teams, but try to stay on it's not even what's trending, but where's medicine going? Where's AI going? And how can imaging has changed more in the last decade than we've ever seen it. And how do we change it in a way that sonographers are comfortable, but open to it? And it makes an impact for the patients and the users. And so our team kind of rounds that all out, and it's a big piece of it is sitting back and listening and saying, how can we fix this? How can we be the solution solvers?
So awesome. I definitely feel like I've already learned so much about the corporate world that I did not know. So thank you all for your insights. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that it's, I think probably at this point, everyone has recognized that regardless of what role you have in the corporate world, you're doing something different all the time. And that is giving you so much variety. You're obviously not going to get bored. And at the same time, you are learning more. So you're keeping up, because a lot of times I think some people are worried that they're going to lose their clinical skills, or, how do I stay up with everything? But you actually have to. That's part of your job. No matter what role you have, you've got to be.
I mean, you are the innovators and leaders.
Exactly.
So
it's kind of an exciting world to be in. I've worked in those positions in the past in clinical applications as well. And I was just telling Tricia, I said, it's been a lot of years since I did that, but you realize that you have to constantly be learning, and the great thing is you're working with key opinion leaders, you're working with people from all different specialty practices and medical environments, and it's just an amazing, I think, taking the opportunity to work in a corporate environment is, I think everybody should do it. It's just such a great opportunity to expand your opportunities. And, you might find one area that you don't really like as well, but, you'll find your niche. And I think I'm so happy we're having this conversation with you all, because it is definitely an area where sonographers, they wonder what it would be like, but they're a little scared to take that step. And so it's nice to be able to give them some insight into that.
They don't know who to talk to, who to ask. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I would say, just to round that out for us, like, honestly, probably I would say, and I hate to speak for all of us, one of our big things is probably learn as much from our customers as we try to teach them. It's probably the best part, is we get to work with the different clinicians, and we're also learning constantly from them as well. And so it's a really fun place to be.
So awesome. All right. Let's move on to our next question. What misconceptions do clinical sonographers typically have about working in the corporate ultrasound world?
So I'll take that one. I actually really love this question, because I think there are a couple of misconceptions that when people think about the corporate world, that they kind of see it in a different light than what it can actually be. And I think one of those misconceptions is that they see corporations, they think we just want to sell machines all day long. And while there's truth to that, right? But what we really care, especially at Samsung, is that we want to support our customers and make their lives a little bit easier. We want to give them products and technology and education that will support them and encourage, better patient care, better diagnosing, and just make their whole workday just a little bit lighter, a little bit easier, right? Because that's what we all want. We want a little bit lighter workday. So I think that's one misconception. We're not there just to sell. We're actually there to be a support for them and to help them make their day a little bit better. And then one of the other things I think that things people think about corporations is that there's a lot of red tape to get progress to happen. And again, we do have protocols and policies in place when we do create technology. However, what I love about Samsung is that our engineers really listen to our customers. And I don't think our customers, maybe they don't really recognize that or realize that, but they really listen to them, and they're super fast about taking those changes and implementing them into the technology. So we get to partner not only with our engineers and with all of our team, but we also get to partner with our customers, and we're making a huge difference in healthcare. And we've got one of the best systems on the market, I think, personally. Maybe I'm a little biased, but that's what I think. And it's because our customers are so great to give us that feedback. And then we have a team of engineers and a team of support staff that really drive that and teach that to our customers. So a couple misconceptions. Probably another one would be the travel. If we tell you there's a lot of travel, we are not lying. It is a travel heavy job. So just keep that in mind. If you love to travel and you like variety, then that's what you're going to get when you work for Samsung.
Awesome. So I had a quick thought while you were speaking on that. I think you're right about the sales driven, like you feel like you're going to be pushing, or the other side of it is that you're not going to get to work with clinical specialists. You're not going to get to go in the field and be side by side with those people, learning from them, teaching them, having that feedback, and you're not going to impact patient care. I've actually had several friends who are sonographers who've said, I'll never leave clinical to go do anything else because I love working with patients and impacting their overall outcomes. And so it's really nice to have that perspective where somebody who's very passionate about, changing the outcomes can see how their role in a corporate position would have that same end result, maybe even amplified. So I love that thought.
Definitely amplified. I think that with our systems and helping to drive that, we not only get to see like cutting edge technology and what's coming out in the future, but we also get to kind of be a part of that and to influence that. And we get a lot of those ideas and those thoughts from our customers. So we are learning from them. I've worked with more doctors and sonographers that are on levels that I never dreamed of when I was in clinical, and have learned so much from them. And I think that when you come to work for a corporation, you get those opportunities to do that. So you're always constantly learning. We're still working with the patients. We're still working with our customers. We just hope to make their lives a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's a fun misconception.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
I feel so, it kind of takes you back to the day of being a student when somebody's coming in, say for a demo or an install, and they're over your shoulder watching you. I promise you, we are not watching how you scan. We are looking at your hand movements. We're looking at your workflows. We are trying to optimize the equipment to how you're utilizing the equipment. So that's a misconception. We are not judging any kind of scanning. We learn from people all the time. Sometimes you guys do really interesting and unique exams that we may not be as familiar with. So it's a learning process for us too. So no judgment. We are not instructors. We are there to help and to learn from you.
Perfect. And I'm sure you watch
Yeah.
their ergonomics too, right? How they're positioning themselves with the machine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I know that there's a lot of people nervous when they know the clinical specialist is coming in or someone corporate.
They're intimidated.
They're a little bit intimidated, yeah. So because as you mentioned before, I think Mel mentioned this, that the expectation is you are the expert of everything, no matter what it is, as far as it is about the ultrasound equipment or the topics that they may or applications that they're performing. So it's a little intimidating when you have someone come in. But that's a good point.
Anytime somebody's watching over your shoulder,
Yeah.
you feel a little like, oh.
I think about it from our product side too, honestly. Like we hear it all the time. Like we launched the R20 and the Q10 this year, and people are like, oh, great, you're done. Now what? And it's like once systems are released or once we start training, but they are by no means from a product development standpoint, from a training standpoint, we're never done. It's always like, what's next? What are we going to do to it now? And so that's always a misconception is people think we have a lot of breaks because we don't, you obviously aren't releasing products every month type of a thing. So we're like, no, the work is just getting started for sure. And then the other thing from being in the clinical realm from my side is I was also an applications manager. And the thing I heard over and over again was that people would say, oh, I have to get out of the office. It's got to be easier than the office. Like there's too many personalities or, because you're used to seeing the same people every day. And it's quite the contrary. I mean, one of the things I always ask people is like, if you're okay walking in an office and being like, hi, my name's Mel, every single day, you're probably going to be okay. But if you're somebody who likes like the nurturing component of being with the same people every day on a schedule, might not be direct applications, might not be for you. So
I was just going to kind of second what Mel just said. I think one of the biggest things that I see is folks that are clinical that come into the corporate world and they feel like we are a well-oiled machine. And as much as I want to say, yes, we are, there's a lot of chaos on our side that we have to deal with. And when I was new to apps years and years ago, my mentor that was kind of showing me the ropes said to me, are you okay with change? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can handle change. And he was like, no, I mean, if you've got your whole week figured out and you know what you're going to do and you get a call from your boss on Sunday evening and she says, hey, scrap that. I need you to go to California and do these 15 different things. Can you handle that? And I was like, well, yeah, to some degree, that's often the job is dealing with quick change, a little bit of chaos, and just constantly moving.
That is definitely a perspective worth sharing.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure a lot of people would not fare well in an environment like that.
And it's very true. I mean, that is definitely corporate living.
That is definitely corporate living. Yep. Yeah.
But it's exciting too. I mean, it might be a little nerve-wracking to have like, you think you're going in to do, in service or something with a customer, and at the 11th hour you get a call. Nope, I need you to go here and do this. That's, by the way, it's on the other side of the country or wherever you're going, So you do have to be able to adapt, I think. So, but I think that's part of the exciting part of being in the corporate world too.
It sounds to me like if you are all married, you all have very supportive spouses.
Yes, you do. You have to have supportive spouses.
Yes. Yes, very much so. You want to move on to the
So
next
yeah,
question?
why don't
Okay.
we move on now? And we've been talking a lot about the roles and what's involved with your day-to-day activities. And when you're looking for someone to potentially fill a position with your company, are there specific certifications or degrees or professional development paths that you would recommend for someone that's looking to transition into the corporate world?
I'll start that. We are always looking for clinical application specialists to come into the company. And I think a lot of the attributes that we're looking for, both, Mel and Tanya and Dave already pointed out, things that we're certainly looking for. We're looking for somebody that's, more than a certification or a degree, that's really passionate about ultrasound, passionate about what they do, passionate about patient care. As everybody has said, that's still what we're really focused on at the heart of it. So we want to see somebody who is really passionate about that. I always look for somebody who, almost everybody has mentioned it, who is a lifelong learner, who wants to learn, because this is not a 9 to 5 job, and we are always learning. There's always a new technology, there's always a new technique, there's a new exam being done. And I feel like, if you're going to be in any of these roles, you have to really be open to just continuously learning. So I like to see that somebody has gone back to school. If they've gone back, I don't necessarily care as much what degree it is, but that somebody has taken the time to go back and has a commitment to education for themselves, has a commitment to learning and growing and developing. So seeing that somebody has gone back to school or has earned a new certification, is gone back and gotten an additional registry, just that they have that commitment to themselves and to their field. So I think that, and then I think looking for somebody who is a problem solver, who is able to go out there and figure out what's going on with a customer, figure out what they need, what they're looking for in their systems, and be able to solve those problems for them. And like Dave just said, somebody who's flexible and able to deal with the chaos. I tell people almost the exact same story when I interview people. Are you okay if on Monday morning your flight's canceled and we blow up your entire week and you're off to do something else? Because that happens all the time. So definitely looking for somebody who's flexible, who thrives a little bit on the chaos, thrives on learning and researching and studying themselves and keeping up on all of those things. But lots of different paths and avenues. I think Leanne mentioned project management, there's certifications for that. Just somebody that's also technologically savvy, who there's a lot of additional computer things, just, the basics from things we don't think about all the time, like Excel and PowerPoint and all the different computer things we do on a day-to-day basis, but just somebody who's willing to learn.
Excellent. Yeah.
I mean, I know most sonographers are, by nature, we have to do our continuing medical education, right? That's just part of maintaining our certification. But it sounds to me like you're looking for that person who's going above and beyond that. And in order for them to say, am I a right fit? Is this career path a right fit for me? They have to take a deep dive and look inside themselves and say, is that what I do or want to do? Maybe I don't have time to do it right now, but it's something I'm eager to do, passionate to do, and this would give me the opportunity to step more into that and to be able to learn more and be more engaged than maybe I am in a really busy, clinical setting. So it's definitely worth taking a kind of deep dive. Are you the kind of person that seeks out new opportunities to learn something new, even if it's not required for your certification, or are you just kind of doing what's required?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think when you start in a new role here, especially in clinical applications, Tanya talked a little bit about the path we take to get somebody on board and get them ready. It's it's a multi-month, 3-4 month period of training to get somebody to come out. So you almost feel like a new grad again. You feel like a new student coming in and having to learn everything about the system to be able to explain it to customers, like you said, a refresh in physics, learning all of the system, learning new exams, things like that. So it really does kind of take you back to your new grad phase, really.
Yeah. And I'm always that sonographer that's touching all the buttons and opening all the back pages and going, what does that do? I want to know more about that. And my coworkers are like, stop touching it.
Just to add to that, I think from a trainer's perspective, because we do all the internal training for our teams, the ones that I see that really thrive are the ones like Bridget said that are tech savvy, love to dig into the back pages and the service pages and admin pages of our systems to really understand like how things work and want to set that up for the customer. And that they're self-driven, that they take that on to learn. They've got to be self-motivated. I can teach them for 3 months, but if they don't own that education and that training, then that's where the real beauty and gem comes from. So those are some things that help them to thrive in this world, I guess, best way to say it.
Well, it sounds exciting. And I think that's kind of, if you're that type of person who seeks that and you want to constantly be growing yourself in your education, in your experience, in your training, it's enlightening and comforting to know that as an application specialist or as someone in a corporate environment, you're encouraged and supported to do that. So I think that's a really good addition of information for our listeners. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. People are always wondering, what kind of career growth or advancement opportunities are available once you get into clinical specialist. Is that it?
Right.
Or you've pointed out there that you all have different roles, so there's a diverse opportunities to be able to grow and advance within that position.
One of the things on our team too that we really even haven't touched on, just to kind of show that it just does kind of go on and on, is kind of our clinical evidence team and our KOL team. We have a lot of universities that do research in the departments, and those teams as well grow for us. Like we invest time and resources from our own team, as well as, what is the next level of what can we solve in, any sort of pathology, or how well are these things working. So we have a lot of, clinical evidence kind of scientist roles and, KOL development roles that say, hey, can we publish together, things like that. And it's something we haven't actually even touched on. So lots of opportunity there for sure.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
Anything else
No.
you wanted to ask about that?
Nope, not about that. Yep.
Well, thank you all for your input on that question. We have one final question, and then maybe we'll have a little bit more time for some open discussion if it allows, but we'll try. So what skills from your clinical career, and I feel like we've kind of talked about some of this, but maybe we can get a little bit more granular, have proven most valuable in your corporate roles? And then what did you have to learn from scratch? Like, what can somebody expect to have to walk in and immediately pour their time and their attention into to be really effective at their position?
So I will take point on this one. And I think we have hit on it a lot. I loved hearing other people's perception, because I 100% think if I had a superpower, it's the ability to pivot. And you've heard them say, we all, I think everybody on this call did clinical applications at one point. And that's a lot of times where someone comes into the field. And that started in the ultrasound world, because as a sonographer, I would go to the ER, and then the ICU might call, and then, now you need to go to labor room, or now you need to go to PICU. You might start your day with an outpatient schedule and a plan, but then you need to pivot because a million other things were thrown your way, or radiologist calls. So that ability, I think as sonographer, you are used to having to pivot in your job, picking up things as you go, changing midday, and that goes very well into any of the roles here. I tell my children now, if you have anything, make a plan, have it, and then pivot when you need to. Because that's just, to me, the best life advice, because it never goes as we plan. Nothing does. But our weeks never go as planned. I don't know if I ever make a plan. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's Monday, and I got everything I wanted to get done today, and I didn't get interrupted, and that's once a year. But so I do think that's I think a lot of the personalities that go into ultrasound, because it is so hands-on, I think you have a little bit of that hands-on kind of little get in there and figure it out personality. I think that's a personality that's drawn to the field. If you do personality profiles, you can be the uber organized person, or you can be the more spontaneous person, but you do need to have kind of just that, let me figure it out. That if you're scanning somebody and I always say, I almost my gut knew something was wrong before I actually saw what was wrong with my eyes. It's I was something's not right here. So all of that leans really into a corporate setting of just being able to figure it out. What's not right here? Why do we need to investigate this? Those investigative mind tools, huge in our role. What you have to learn new, it's corporate. So I had to learn how to dress. Like that's a new thing. Like I wear scrubs every day. So
Wait, you
like,
can't wear scrubs? Hold on.
you can a little, but there's some limit. You do, you can't wear some scrubs, but and we kind of coach our I was coached how to dress, how to come across, unfortunately, you don't want to be too controversial. There are just almost etiquette things that maybe you don't think about that you do have to learn. You do have to be open to learning in a corporate world, and it's okay. It's just kind of growing you as a person. I think those are things people don't think about. Like, oh, I might have to dress differently. I might have to not be so like just say whatever I want whenever I want personalities, if you are that, things like that. And then just depending on your background, they did touch on the side of Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft PowerPoint and being technical. It's not anything you can't learn if you've not had a huge amount of experience in that. I had a college degree, a bachelor's degree, but it's not, I wasn't making PowerPoints every day when I was a sonographer. So, that was something that was just more, okay, let's figure this out. Let's learn it. I did go on and get a master's, and that kind of helped because you have to create tons of presentations and things when you do those field. And that's kind of the continual learning thing. Like you can always take an office course or an Excel course. I mean, those even without getting a degree in it. But those are the things that something you might not use every day. You can learn it, but also that you are like, oh, this is an everyday part of my world now. So, and anybody, I'm sure you guys have something to add too, but that's kind of my two things.
That
I'm
was
about
really
to date
great.
myself right on top of Leanne. I was like, I'm going to add some dates. This is when I started clinical. I remember starting my first week. And again, I'm dating myself. I've been in over 20 years. And I'm thinking like CDs, DVRs, DVDs, minus R, plus R. There were like all these things people were talking about. And as a sonographer, other than music at that time, I knew nothing about format of any sort of digital electronics. And so in my first week, I remember before apps, I was running a department of a big university, and I thought I really knew what I was doing. And then my first week, I remember going back to the hotel, like, what did I do? I don't know how to do anything. What have I done to myself? Kind of a moment. And fast forward now, I think back at it and I thought, had I not taken that leap of faith and trusting that I can do this, I can learn. But it is a little bit of a shock because you do learn things. I have faith in this generation, to be fair. My son is in this, in his 20s, and I think, gosh, they're much more technically savvy than we were at that time. But you just can't be afraid of it. I always say, the people in your department that are going to be good at this. When there's a problem, there's always one or two people that everybody calls. It's that person who's going to figure it out, find the solution. And then there's going to be the person that's like, this isn't working again. And they just kind of walk away. Right. So you always know who's going to be good at these types of roles. And so it's good for us to know, but I probably just dated myself way too old with the DVD CDs.
Oh,
But
no, it's
for me,
okay.
it's a big part of it. Just don't be afraid.
I was using cassette tape, so.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny because you're saying that. I'm sitting here thinking about who those people are in our office. And we have them. Yep.
Every office has them, right?
Everybody has them.
Everybody has them. I have to say that in your responses so far, I know two of you have spoke in reference to this, but really just the overall, the entire episode when we've been discussing, you guys are so encouraging and uplifting, and you seem like you really love your jobs, which, again, I think that falls into a misconception category where it's cutthroat and it's like nose to the sandstone and you're just always working. It just seems like you guys have a lot of fun. So it's refreshing. And I love that we're putting that out there for people to see.
Right. Absolutely. Very inspirational.
I do think we have a lot of fun. We work hard. And it can be crazy sometimes, but we always try to find some fun in that. I think for me, when I first came to clinical applications, I remember I had to learn to travel. Okay. And I had to learn how to be flexible, and I guess flexible in my travel. I had traveled some, to the beach, to the, different places, but not like this. So I had to learn that. And I remember in my first role in corporate America, I was standing in the Detroit airport. Actually, I was outside. It was dark. I'd had a horrible travel day. It was raining. And I was like, what am I doing? I started crying, and I called my team lead, and she was like, it's okay. Everybody has a meltdown when they first come on board. This is yours. Yours is just a little bit later than everybody else's. You're having it now instead of in training. So I always try to remember that if you're not used to traveling, then you're going to learn a lot about that. You're going to learn how to pack. You're going to learn how to pack light. You're going to learn how to do carry-ons only if you can, get away with that. And so just a lot of little life lessons like that have been really, really great. And the thing I love about it is it has taken away the fear of doing a lot of things. Like, I don't fear travel anymore. Like, you need me to book a flight? Sure, no problem. I can do that. Or book a rental car. Where before I'd been like, how do I do that? So you learn a lot of those things. And it benefits your life in so many ways. And there's some perks to it. You get some points and some vacation time and things like that. So lots of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, business travel is different than leisure travel.
Oh, yeah. Much different.
Tricia, I'll say to your point, you just said a minute ago, you used the word cutthroat. It's a business, right? And obviously we want to win deals. But I'll say this, over the course of my time in the industry, I've worked at 3 major ultrasound corporations. And I have great friends at all of those companies. Some of my best friends work for other companies. And it's a small community, but we all know each other and we're all friends with each other. And a few years ago, I was at a trade show, and it was a smaller one. There were 8 booths, and I looked around the room, and I had worked with somebody in every single one of those 8 booths over the years. So it's not so much as cutthroat as what people would think. Yes, we want to win business, but it's a family of ultrasound professionals across all these major manufacturers.
Yeah,
That is so true.
you guys definitely exude that. Like, you guys are all, I can just tell you have a lot of fun and you're very supportive of each other. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And even though we all hold different roles within the company, we collaborate all the time. So, we get to collaborate on different projects, different things that are coming up, R&D side of things. So we do have the opportunity to work together. It's not isolating, even though you're traveling quite a bit. You make these friendships as you go, and they carry forward with you throughout your career. So it's been great.
Yeah, and I think we kind of, one thing I've touched on, and it's like, you dress a certain way or you act a certain way. Well, when we're all together and it's just us, we don't do that. There's the customer version of us, and you can be the real you. And then there's the version that we really are able to just be friends. And so it's not a stuffy environment. I think maybe some people think it's a stuffy environment, and it's not. It's a fun environment. We have a lot of fun together. I recently brought my 20-year-old daughter to the office, and she was like, "Y'all were just yapping." She was like, "I know y'all were yapping about important stuff, but y'all was just yapping." So it's, if someone has an interest, it's like you jump, and see if it's for you. And it's been a great career. I think for all of us, we've all loved our career.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Oh, man. Okay, so let's do a time check. Yeah. So we got to wrap things up, but is there one of these extra questions, Lori, that you really wanted to ask?
The thing is that we actually have integrated a lot of these into our discussions.
What about the sonographers clinically happy?
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to just maybe, we've probably touched on this just a little bit, but what would you say to a sonographer who is happy clinically, but they're curious about corporate opportunities, but just not sure if they want to take that step? What would you say to them?
I can take this from the beginning. I would say ask the question. It's not difficult with LinkedIn and all the other things to find somebody that's in it. Reach out to them. I recently just had someone ask me for a few minutes just to find out more about it. And it was something they were interested in. If it's something that they were wanting to test, we'd be happy to say, hey, just come a couple hours with us if it's local and see if it's something you're interested in. But just start the conversation. Start the conversation with somebody who's in it, kind of one-on-one. There's many people to find in many businesses, and find a little bit out of that you can.
That's good advice.
Yeah. I literally, like what Mel said, just my personal experience. I asked my apps person, she was installing a system, and I said, hey, y'all ever hire? And she was like, yeah. And she actually had at that point, and some people do this, it's a per diem position or a part-time position. And I worked weekends at the time. So I went and worked for a company 2 days a week. And that's a great way to see if you like it, if that's something that you find in your area available. It was kind of a sweet spot for me. And then I liked it. But you can just, we get pinged on LinkedIn all the time about what's it about. Like Mel said, you can always kind of shadow or go in or see like what this looks like. And, for all of us that are still sitting here, it was the right fit. For some people, it's not, and that's okay. But it's never, you don't want to waste our time and your time. But if you come to the point that I'm going to try it, every single one of us, I think we all said, we're going to try it for a year. And then it's 20 years later and we're here.
Absolutely.
You just, kind of jump out there.
I was just going to say that I started my first year and said, I'm going to give it 1 year. If I don't like it, 1 year, and I'm on my 21st year. Mel and I actually started at the same week there together. So it was like 1 year, I'm going to give it a year. And you just, like you said, you never get bored. It's always something new. People, like I said, reach out to us all the time on LinkedIn. We're always happy to talk about it, kind of share individually what the role is all about if people are interested. But, don't be afraid to reach out and just talk about it.
Right. And they need to watch this episode.
Yeah.
I would tell them to take a chance. When the first role that I applied, I saw it. I perused the LinkedIn boards, the job sites, because I knew I kind of wanted to do something like that. Wasn't sure if I'd like it or not, but just take that chance, apply. And a lot of it, your questions can also be answered in the interview process. We do, you will be interviewed by so many people when you apply for one of these roles that if you don't get every question answered during that interview, and then if you don't want it, you don't have to take it. So take a chance.
Yeah.
And I would just add, I would tell that individual to get involved in some of the social things, the social media things. It's easy to have conversations via social media, but also go to a conference, go to SDMS. There's no better way to get time with a room full of vendors and other sonographers that are corporate than to walk around the showroom floor at SDMS or an AIUM or something like that. I think that would be a great opportunity to have the opportunity to talk.
That's a great suggestion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just went to SDMS and ran into several of you lovely people while I was there. And I have to say, you're right. You walk into that room and there are so many people you can talk to from every aspect of ultrasound you can imagine. So if you're not going to the exhibit hallway or at those conferences, you need to start doing that.
Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome.
And, someone once mentored us and pointed us in the right direction, so we're happy to pay for them.
Fantastic. Was there anything else that you all would like to add to, to our discussion before we wrap things up?
I just want to say thank you for having us. This has been so much fun, and we just really love that you gave us the opportunity to come share our experience and our knowledge and a little bit of Samsung with you.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you all here.
I think this is the most I've laughed during a podcast in a long time.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
Yes. Yeah. I love hearing all your stories.
Yes.
I think that's very enlightening for people, but yet real. So.
And we've talked about a future episode. We're going to share some of those stories.
Yep.
So I look forward to doing that with you guys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we thank all of you for joining us, and we thank our listeners for joining us. And did you have anything to add to that?
No, just, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to help us kind of lay out for any sonographers or any career path in the ultrasound industry. Maybe they're looking to make a change. Maybe they're nervous, needed some clarification. I think you guys have really presented this in such a warm and welcoming way that I think you're going to be getting pinged a lot more on LinkedIn after this episode drops. So be prepared for that. And to our listeners, I really thank you for joining us. We love bringing this podcast to you guys. So thank you for continuing to tune in. If you have any ideas for topic suggestions that you'd like to share with us, you can always email us at sonographylounge@gmail.com. And happy scanning.
Happy scanning, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Sonography Lounge. Don't forget, if you like this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram at Sonography Lounge and Twitter at SonographyLNG. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, feel free to send an email to us at sonographylounge@gmail.com. Have a great week and scan, scan, scan.